Hi, everyone, and welcome to the 700 Club. Let's go over to the CBN newsroom for today's top stories.
Andrew, there could be a pause in the fighting between Israel and Hamas soon. President Donald Trump says Israel has agreed to the necessary conditions for a ceasefire, and Hamas may be open to it. But serious roadblocks remain. George Thomas has this story.
With Prime Minister Netanyahu heading to the White House on Monday, President Trump took to Truth Social, posting that Israel has signed off on the terms for a 60-day ceasefire with Hamas.
Yeah, he wants to. I can tell you he wants to, and I think we'll have it. I think we'll have a deal next week. That's what I think.
Trump says he'll press Netanyahu to wrap up the war and warned Hamas to take the deal, or, in his words, it will only get worse. Inside Gaza, word of a possible ceasefire brought hope and some cautious relief.
This is a dream for us, for the people of Gaza. This is a dream because, frankly, we are tired. The word tired has great concern beyond it that only the people of Gaza know. We are exhausted. We are tired. We hope to God that the war will end. This is a dream.
The Israeli military says it's taken control of about 75% of the Gaza Strip, claiming it's already defeated 3 of Hamas's 5 brigades, with the last 2 surrounded.
The Prime Minister is working to end the campaign in Gaza through the release of the hostages and the defeat of Hamas as soon as possible.
Hamas suggested it was open to a ceasefire agreement with Israel but stopped short of accepting it, insisting on its long-standing position that any deal would end the war. Previous ceasefire talks have fallen apart mostly over what comes next. Israel wants the option to restart fighting if needed. Hamas is pushing for a permanent ceasefire, full Israeli withdrawal, and the release of Palestinian prisoners. Israel's position hasn't changed. They say the war only ends if Hamas surrenders, disarms, and leaves Gaza. And while talks continue, the fighting hasn't stopped. The IDF says it intercepted missiles from both Gaza and Yemen Tuesday night. Sirens rang out in Jerusalem and other cities, but no damage or injuries were reported. After that, U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee posted on X, writing, "We thought we were done with missiles coming to Israel, but Houthis just lit one up. Maybe those B-2 bombers need to visit Yemen." George Thomas, CBN News.
Here at home, the House of Representatives is set to vote on President Trump's big, beautiful bill on tax cuts and federal spending. The move will come after a long debate in the House Rules Committee, following a razor-thin vote in the Senate, with Vice President J.D. Vance casting the tie-breaking vote after the measure deadlocked at 50-50, with 3 Republicans joining the Democrats. Some congressional Republicans have concerns about the bill, but many analysts say they expect it to pass. U.S. lawmakers have been warning America's ability to build and maintain a strong Navy has fallen behind. Congress is stepping in with bipartisan support to change that. National security correspondent Caitlin Burke brings us this story.
On the issue of national security, talk of shipbuilding usually refers to the Navy. In this case, Senator Todd Young sees the commercial maritime industry also being a crucial piece of the equation.
Right now, the United States, we have 80 U.S. flagged U.S. crewed vessels to carry goods into the United States and out of the United States. But we're a maritime nation, as we have been from the very beginning, and we need to be less at the mercy of the Chinese Communist Party when we need ships. They have 5,500 commercial vessels.
These 80 U.S. merchant ships transport items internationally, ensuring our supply chain in times of peace and critical military needs in times of crisis. Over the last few decades, however, the U.S. shipbuilding industry has taken a hit, largely due to lack of investment, strict U.S. regulatory requirements, and outsourcing the work to other countries to save money. Beijing, meanwhile, has made shipbuilding a priority.
They are able to manufacture roughly 1,000 every year. The United States, we can only manufacture five vessels every year. So we need to increase our manufacturing capacity.
The Ships for America Act, a bipartisan bill reintroduced this year by Senator Young and Democratic Senator Mark Kelly, aims to revitalize the U.S. shipbuilding and commercial maritime industry by greater investment in domestic shipyards, incentives for people to join the industry's workforce, and partnering with the Navy to ensure its needs are met as well.
This is a pretty comprehensive piece of legislation. Fortunately, President Trump has been on board. We have support from Republicans and Democrats alike in the House and Senate. And we need to get started on this project right now because it'll take time to put all this in motion.
Senator Young says building and staffing more of these ships will create American jobs, keep supply chains resilient, and strengthen the ability to keep the U.S. military supplied in times of war. Caitlin Burke, CBN News, Washington.
Nearly 96% of deaf people nationwide are not part of a church, but for the first time in San Antonio, Texas, that is changing. Community Bible Church is launching a service led by the deaf in American Sign Language, giving thousands a new way to worship in their heart language. CBN's Brody Carter has this story.
For most churchgoers, this is a typical sound from Sunday worship. For the deaf community, however, these moments of praise often remain silent and out of reach.
Third most unreached people group in the world is deaf people. 78,000 deaf people in San Antonio and no deaf church.
That reality struck a personal nerve with Texas pastor Ed Newton.
My mother was born deaf. My father was born deaf. I was an only child. My mom had cerebral palsy. She was told she'd never have kids. And so God gave my mom and dad me.
According to Deaf Missions, just 2% of the world's deaf population knows Christ, leaving 98% still in search of a divine relationship and eternal life. That's why Pastor Newton's Community Bible Church is launching a full deaf church experience.
So on Saturday nights at 5 o'clock, starting in June, Pastor Ashton's gonna be preaching, teaching. Our deaf group will be worshiping. And for the first time in history, we now have a full-time deaf pastor on our staff.
I grew up, don't understand deaf culture. So when I went into this deaf church, everybody was signing, and then after I left, I started weeping because this is my heart language.
Pastor Ashton Luff lost his hearing at age 3. After years of struggling in hearing environments, a turning point came at a Christian camp for the deaf, where he directly encountered the gospel thanks to sign language with no interpreter needed.
In Romans chapter 8, verse 28, is that everything happens for his good purpose. And the purpose he gave me is a voice. And the purpose he gave me is my hands. And God said, go use it. And I did.
Now, the very hands that once felt left out are helping others find their place and be seen in the church.
So I would encourage every lead pastor, ask the question, how many deaf people live in your town? And I think you'll be surprised. Deaf people, like my mom and dad, will walk into your church.
From feeling forgotten to being called, these San Antonio faith leaders believe God speaks every language, even the silent ones of the heart.
So God,
Brody Carter, CBN News.